Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachahakodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations, as always, to the elect. And this is Prophecy Watch. As we look at the things happening worldwide, we link them to what the Holy Scriptures foretold to give you comfort, all right, and understanding through the Holy Spirit of why, all right, so that you can know what times that you are in, all right. The Scriptures tell you a wise man's heart or mind, all right, understand it both time and judgment. So understanding the times you're in is key, all right, to the spirit you will be in. Now, understanding this prophecy here, we know Ezekiel 38, all right, which is going to happen before the return of Yahweh Shai, not after, all right, as you have a particular group telling you Ezekiel 38 is going to happen after, okay, the Lord returns. No, it's going to happen before the Lord returns. Okay, these nations won't have power once the Lord returns. But as we know, Ezekiel 38th chapter is centered around, Russia, formulating its own beast system, okay, to combat, Israel and the powers of the West and its allies, and ultimately even members of the beast system, all right, would join them as the beast system is imploding. There's much division, okay, in NATO, the EU, okay, as their alliance or allegiance to this Confederacy linking them to America is weakening, all right, and that's what biblical prophecy speaks of in Daniel, the second chapter as well, all right, where, all right, this agreement that these nations have to formulate this beast system will be broken, okay, and as we can see here, it's from Natural News, Turkey signals a desire to join the BRICS and abandon EU membership dreams. Now, Turkey is a part of NATO. Okay, BRICS is ultimately headed by, okay, Russia. Okay, at the end of the day. Now, NATO, all right, if you know the history, was created to combat, okay, the Soviet power, all right, which is headed by Russia. And Turkey is a part of NATO, but as we've seen over the years, Turkey has played both sides, all right, and as we've warned you all, they're going to join with Russia, all right, and ultimately help to destroy Babylon the Great, all right, Israel as well. Now, BRICS, okay, which is a group of countries that are coming together, all right, to get around the power of the West and its allies. When we say the West, we mean America, Babylon the Great, all right, because the dollar, all right, it has the power of the dollar. As a matter of fact, I want to play this video for you so that you can understand how dominant the dollar is and why these nations are coming together, all right, to try to get around it. Because if you want to buy particular goods, all right, in some shape, form, or fashion, you're eventually going to have to deal with the U.S. dollar, all right. But these particular nations are coming together, okay. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. And now you have many other African nations following South Africa, all right, running to Russia, all right, for aid, all right, to ultimately help fix the mess, all right, that the beast system has made of their countries, okay? But when you understand the power and dominance of the Babylon's dollar, America's dollar, all right, it makes sense that these nations, all right, although we know the elites are behind it all, they're trying to formulate their own system, all right, and what this is going to lead to is war, All right, so to understand the power of the American dollar, let's play this video.
The US dollar dominates global trade. In 2019, some 88% of international transactions involved US dollars.
88% of international transactions, all right, involved US dollars. Okay? This is why Babylon is such a powerhouse. You see, and the scriptures talks about the nations committing fornication with her. One of the ways of committing fornication with Babylon is, by buying into that dollar. See, and these nations are trying to get around that, but it's not as easy as it sounds.
No other currencies came close. That gives the US dollar dominates global trade. In 2019, some 88% of international transactions involved US dollars. No other currencies came close. That gives the US extraordinary power over nearly anyone who imports or exports anything anywhere. Commodities like oil, gold, and coffee are all priced in dollars, regardless of where they come from. But this clout has long frustrated America's rivals, making them vulnerable to US trade sanctions.
See, these nations are vulnerable to U.S. trade sanctions no matter where they're buying from if they want particular goods. Okay, so you have the BRICS nations, which are ultimately trying to join together, headed by Russia. Okay, I believe Iran is a part of it too. I'm not sure. I believe so. But either way, as we read this article, it's going to show you that a lot of the nations that are mentioned in Ezekiel 38, all right, are, ultimately being mentioned in this BRICS nations, alliance that they're trying to formulate.
Here's how the global economy runs on the US dollar, and why some countries are developing alternative systems that could chip away at the dollar's dominance.
The dollar came to dominate trade after World War II. The US was the biggest economy in the world. Other countries were trying to rebuild, and the dollar, it was stable and plentiful.
In 1944, a conference of 44 nations agreed to peg their currencies to the US dollar, while the dollar itself was pegged to gold. As global trade grew, so did the use of the dollar to conduct the world's business. Even after the United States abandoned the gold standard in 1971, the dollar remained the world's currency of choice.
The world has gotten used to doing business in dollars because it's just easier than doing business in any other currency. The dollar is incredibly liquid, meaning it's easy to buy and sell things all over the world. The US banking system is very efficient, and those things combine to make it cheaper for...
And this is why once they collapse the dollar, it'll be easier, all right, to bring people into, all right, that MOTB system, which all of these nations are preparing for. Okay, they're all preparing for digital currency. They're all preparing for that MOTB system. All right. But this has to be done to fulfill prophecy. All right, because we know currency wars lead to physical wars. So this is only going to ante up, war. Okay.
Businesses to buy and sell in dollars.
Here's how a typical international transaction works in US dollars. A Canadian lumber company sells boards to a French home builder. The buyer's bank in France and the seller's bank in Canada settle the payment in dollars via correspondent banks in the United States. These correspondent banks have accounts at the United States Federal Reserve. The money is transferred seamlessly between these banks' Fed accounts because their status as correspondent banks means they are seen as safe counterparties. The United States says the use of these correspondent banks means every transaction technically touches U.S. soil, giving it legal jurisdiction and compelling foreign countries to abide by its laws on money laundering and corruption.
And this is why America is the powerhouse of the world. Okay?
After 9/11, the U.S. used the power of the dollar to advance its foreign policy goals. The idea was to cut out the sources of funding for terror organizations.
The U.S. used its control of the dollar to increase surveillance of global money flows and curb financing toward bad actors. It did this by imposing sanctions on its rivals. Under the system, if a business or country tries to trade with a sanctioned entity in dollars, the U.S. has the power to cut off its access to U.S. currency. but other countries have been building workarounds. Some EU countries opposed the U.S. sanctions against Iran. These sanctions put in place after the U.S. withdrew from the Iranian nuclear deal.
See, EU countries, okay, are, which this is all prophecy. EU countries, all right, are actually angry, all right, at the U.S. for particular sanctions that they're putting on countries because it's messing up their business, all right. Russia, the sanctions that were put, all right, on Russia by, the Americas, all right, pretty much, ruined a lot of the economies of Europe. All right, Germany is an example of that, okay? And they're forced to pretty much, buy oil and deal with America, right, at a higher price. So their economies are going downhill, all right, because of sanctions that America is putting, all right, on these particular countries, all right. And again, it's only going to lead to the countries that have formed this alliance in the form of the beast system, all right, which is America, NATO, and the EU. They're looking for workarounds, and they're going to work with countries, all right, that America are opposed to, all right, and eventually they're all going to come together to get America out of the way, okay, because ultimately America is in the way of what the elites want, all right. Pretty much America's was used for what it was used for, but ultimately the whole mindset around America is in the way of the NWO. Too many freedoms, too much control, too much this. They need to break, all right, and destroy their stronghold, which they've put, individuals like Joe Biden in office to help forward that. Okay, the elites want to collapse this place. They want to collapse the dollar, all right, because that's going to make the whole world rely on them, okay, fully, and rush into a new system, okay. If they want to buy, sell, trade, okay, they're going to have to hurry up and rush into this new system, man. So the elites are behind this all. But again, this all fulfills biblical prophecy. Yahweh Bashim Yahshai is around this.
In 2018 included banning dollar transactions with Iranian banks. As a result, the EU is developing a euro-backed system that is designed to facilitate trade between Europe and Iran without sending money across borders.
The EU countries still in the Iran deal are trying to figure out a way to work around the U.S. system so they can trade with Iran. Now that bothers the U.S., which is trying to exert maximum pressure on the Iranian economy.
India already has an alternative payment system in place that it's using to do business with Iran. According to a Wall Street Journal investigation, it's been used to facilitate transactions with sanctioned Iranian entities. But the United States is still exerting its influence in the Middle East through the power of the US dollar.
The dollar still dominates global trade. You can see that in the standoff between the US and Iraq. Iraq says they want to throw US troops out of the country. The US said, we'll cut you off from your dollars in the US system. But in the future, it's not clear how strong that threat will remain as other countries chip away at the power of the dollar.
If the power of the dollar falls, it could hurt the United States' ability to control the global trading system.
And see, this is where prophecy comes in to play. You see? Right, this is the book of Revelations, the 18th chapter and the 3rd verse. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Who's the her? It's Babylon the Great. Okay, taking on, her democracy, having to deal in her dollar, all right, binds them to particular, agreements to where they have to debase their values, debase, what they stand for, okay, in order to have things, okay? And it's a lot more tied to just, okay, trading in dollars. No, again, as we were just listening to in that video, okay, you're pretty much opening your country up to sanctions. America is able to have a say-so in policies and this and that, all right, by these nations having to deal with that dollar. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And one of those delicacies, all right, is that dollar, you see. And we're living in a time, as it says in Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, right? Call Halal Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, man. Wait a minute. Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. Ezekiel 38:2, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, all right, which means like chief, the land of Magog, all right, and that's ultimately the area of Russia, okay? The chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, all right, the area of Armenia, all right, and so forth, and prophesy against him, okay? So when we bring up Russia, ultimately the Lord is against Russia. The Lord is against all of these heathen nations, but they will be used for a very, very important purpose in prophecy, okay? It says, and say, all right, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, okay? What does Gog mean? Salakia, the word Gog, I believe it means like chief, but the land is Magog. Gog means Gowag, mountain, like a, let's see here, prophetic prince of Rosh. Rosh in Russia, all right, is pretty much the same thing. So this all speaks to Russia, okay? But the actual land is Magog, okay, which this area initially was ruled over by the Japhites, the Japhetic people, but we know Esau, Edom has taken over all of these lands, okay? Anyway, Ezekiel 38:4, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, okay? And that ultimately is symbolizing he's going to be in a very, very wild spirit. You put hooks in the jaws of wild animals to contain them. So in the latter days, Russia is going to be in a particular spirit. The Lord is going to put a particular spirit on Russia, okay, bringing them back to what they once were at the time of the Soviet Union, what was NATO created for? What was the purpose of NATO being created? Okay, all you have to do is look it up. 1949, it was created by the U.S., Canada, and several Western European nations to provide collective security against the Soviet Union. What is the Soviet Union? Okay. It's headed by Russia at the end of the day. And NATO itself, I mean, the name meaning, the word NATO, goes back to the Latin word natus, which means to be born. And through, this alliance, it only further rebirthed the Roman Empire back into the earth. Anyway, all right, going back to prophecy. Okay, Ezekiel 38:4, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thine army, and horses and horsemen, all of them with all sorts of armor. So Russia would, in the latter days, arm itself, all right, and they would be in a particular spirit that would combat Israel, combat the West, all right, America and its allies, because they're going to be used to ultimately start the war that's going to lead to America being destroyed. All right, Israel as well is going to be destroyed, that land. All right, but it will be rebuilt. America will never be rebuilt. All right, it says every one of them with a great company of bucklers and shields, and all of them handling swords. All right, Persia, all right, which is Iran. Okay, which I believe they've joined on to the BRICS. Okay, see that? Following an official invitation, Iran announced its acceptance into BRICS on August 24th, 2023. Okay, with the official membership commencing on January 2024. Okay, and there's many countries, as you can see here, Egypt, Ethiopia, okay, and various different countries, all right, are joining, all right, the BRICS. Okay, is the BRICS a threat to the U.S. dollar? The potential impact of a new BRICS currency on the U.S. remains uncertain, yada, 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 okay? And more so, they're looking for ways to trade, outside of the influence of America to boost their economies. It says Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. All right, Gomer and all his bands in the house of Togarmah, all right, and all his bands and many people with thee. Be thou prepared, all right, and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. And see, Turkey, okay, and is a big part of this. Turkey, as they're going to trade. They're going to trade sides. See, Turkey is a part of NATO, bringing us to this article. Give me 1 second. All right, where Turkey signals a desire to join the BRICS. So this is all biblical prophecy, all right, and abandon EU membership dreams. Turkey is interested in joining the BRICS groups, all right, of emerging economies. BRICS is an acronym for Brazil, Russia, India, all right, China, South Africa. This organization, which is believed to be on the road to dominating the global economy, okay, because they're all going to move into the MOTB digital system, all right, but they're fighting on who's going to have more control, who's going to have more influence, okay, which ultimately these countries, all right, are tired of America and their influence, all right, on how the new world is going to, be dominated. All right, but the elites have their hands in all of this. It says recently announcing its willingness to expand by inviting Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates to join the bloc. And we know Saudi Arabia is one of America's biggest, allies. Here it is. All right, they're getting ready to be involved, all right, in joining something to get around the influence of the U.S. power. So it's not working out well for America in these latter days, okay? And this is all prophecy, okay? It says BRICS 5 original members have indicated that their priorities going forward will expand to include tackling financial and economic issues such as pushing for reforms, all right, to the World Bank and to the IMF, okay, and establishing a BRICS interbank cooperation mechanism. Furthermore, BRICS has indicated its desire to expand beyond tackling economics and finance by working together to help resolve regional issues such as Iran's, all right, desire to establish a nuclear program and the ongoing conflicts in Libya, Syria, and Afghanistan, all right. Notice these are all nations that are mentioned in Ezekiel 38. Libya, we see Iran, Ethiopia is mentioned, right? And many of these African countries are leaning on, all right, big brother Russia in these latter days, because their economies are going to shits, all right? And a lot of them have been relying on the beast system, but a lot of them in these latter days are leaning on Russia, man, okay? Turkish Foreign Affairs Minister Hakan Fidan noted Tuesday that his country is interested in joining BRICS. Okay? So this is going to be a conflict of interest all the way around. And we know over the years, Turkey has played both sides. Okay? And we know that Turkey is looking at Israel some type of way for what they're doing to those Palestinians. Okay? It says, certainly we would like to become a member of BRICS, so we'll see how that goes this year. In an interview, all right, with South China Post. All right, so, I mean, you could read more on it. But right here it says, Russia willing to welcome Turkey. For its part, Russia has indicated its willingness to welcome, all right, and Ankara's interest in joining the bloc, all right. Russian foreign minister said on Friday, on May 31st, the BRICS doors are open to representatives of the most diverse economic and political systems, all right, in macro regions. The only condition is that you must agree to work based on the key principle of the sovereign equality of the states, he added. So this is all going to go against America's interest. You see what I'm saying? And this is all prophecy, man. Okay? This is the book of Obadiah. So all of these alliances, all right, that gave power to the beast, which really gave power to the America, the West, all right, they're all being undone. Okay? You're starting to see more and more EU nations, all right, support, all right, Palestine, okay, call out Israel, see? Which that, when you read Ezekiel 38, that's what a lot of it's going to lead to, you know, the least of the flock, you know, Israel is going to draw out a lot of these nations to war, all right? Obadiah, verse 7, all the men of thy confederacy, all right, all of your allies basically would turn against you. You read it in the NLT. All your allies, all right, will turn against you, okay? All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border, all right? Thinking you thought they were going to help you. The men that were at peace with thee have destroyed thee, okay, and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread, all right, and what is that bread? Okay, debt, okay, the dollar, okay, that thick clay. You see what I'm saying? Have laid a wound under thee, there is none understanding in him. All right, so the friends who you trusted are going to set traps for you. And this is speaking of Babylon the Great. Okay, Obadiah is speaking specifically to Esau because he controls Babylon the Great. The scriptures say also laid a wound, because right there it says concerning Esau, a snare is laid, a wound is laid. Okay, let's get the book of Jeremiah. Let's see here. Because the same thing is said to Babylon. Jeremiah 50:24, I have laid a snare for thee, and thou wert also taken, O Babylon, and thou was not aware, thou art found and caught, because thou hast striven against Yahweh Bashim Yahshua, because the pride of these devils, because of the control they have, has them on the high horse, believing they'll never be taken down. America will always win. Hey, but the Lord has the spirit on these nations. He got the spirit on the elites of this whole thing to collapse this place. This place got to be destroyed. You see what I'm saying? Verse 8, shall I not in that day, saith the Lord, even destroy the wise man out of Edom and the understanding out of the mount of Esau? So Esau's all over the place. All right? They're you know, ultimately they're setting themselves up for failure. And the elites who think they're God and in control, they're going to soon find out, all right, that they're not in control. So this confederacy is going to be broken up, okay? And for Turkey, who's a part of NATO, which is one of their biggest military threats, okay, to be talking about joining the BRICS and aligning themselves with Russia, that's letting you know that ultimately things are getting ready to go left and war is coming. And as we've always told you, Turkey is eventually going to flip sides. Okay? They've been stirring things up over these, you know, last couple of years as well. All right? Remember, they had an issue. They didn't want certain countries joining NATO. Then they had that earthquake. All right? They're calling out they've always been at odds pretty much with America. So these alliances are going to break apart. Okay? The revival of Rome, Daniel the 12th chapter. Okay, and the 40th verse says, all right, speaking about Rome, which America, NATO, and the EU revived Rome. That's what's been established back into the earth, the dragon, okay? And now they have more power. They have, you know, more, you know, military might, you see? And they've been able to dominate the earth, okay, with that dollar, with the sword that comes behind trying to get around that dollar. All right. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, their military might. For as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, it's a strong metal. And as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. Okay, so they were blessed with that sword. All right, even, Esau's blessing was the sword. But going back to the family line of Cain, they were the first family known to create weapons using metals. So that blessing is upon Esau, but now he has, all right, missiles, nuclear, capability, all kind of things that he's been blessed with, to where ultimately it doesn't look like he can ever be taken down. So what the Lord is going to do, okay, all right, because that's what the Romans were known for, their great military might, okay. But look at the revival of it. It's even better, okay. I got something even better, like Pinky said. This is Daniel 2:41. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, all right, part potter's clay and part iron. So this represents the end of the statue in the dream, all right, which the end of this whole thing, all right, is America, all right, NATO and the EU, okay, the revival of that Roman system in the earth, okay, the deadly wound was healed, right, but the end of it, okay, at the very end of their kingdom is going to be part iron and part clay. The kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay. So militarily they have power, all right, but it's mixed with miry clay. All right, they don't agree on, trade policies. They don't agree morally. They don't agree. Some want to go to war, some don't want to go to war. So they're divided. You see what I'm saying? They're divided in many ways, and we constantly do videos going into these prophecies about the EU and NATO and how they're divided, because it's important to where we are, okay, in this vision, okay? So again, it's as the toes, verse 42, and as the toes of the feet were part iron, because in this particular vision, okay, there was a dream, all right, and the vision represented all of these kingdoms that were ruled, and the feet is the end of those kingdoms ruling, which is ultimately the revival of Rome, all right, as it's breaking down in Daniel, the 7th chapter, okay, that little horn, which is expounded on in Revelation, the 13th chapter, which this is that system that's going to bring about that MOTB, you see? But to break it apart, the Lord is going to divide them, and he's using Russia to formulate their own beast system, okay, to ultimately take it down. All right. So the feet were part iron and part clay. So the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. Okay. And a kingdom divided, as the scriptures say, can't stand. Okay. Chabal. All right. Or Thabal, Salakia. Thabar means to breaking in pieces. All right, shabar, to break in pieces, to break, to crush, to be maimed, to be broken, to shatter. So they're imploding from the inside and then out. All right, and eventually, as we showed you all the time in Revelation, the 17th chapter, and the 10 horns, which represent those toes, all right, the end of this system, all right, the EU, okay, which the 10 horns represents the subordinate vassals to Rome, all right, which today that is pretty much the EU. These nations are subordinate, all right, and they're vassals of the Roman Empire, okay. They're lesser powers, but they have power, but they've joined themselves to this system, all right, to forward the power of the whore, America. That's what a vassal state is. As a matter of fact, let's look up the meaning of a vassal state. All right, a vassal state or country, a vassal state is any state that has a mutual obligation to a superior state or empire, all right, and a status similar to that of a vassal in a feudal system in medieval Europe. All right, so a vassal state, a state with varying degrees of independence in its internal affairs, but dominated by another state in its foreign affairs. Okay, and that's perfectly describes the EU. They have their own thing going on, but they've given their power to this system, all right, to support the interest of the superior, which is, all right, the modern day Rome is fulfilled in America. So Revelation 17 and 16, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For God hath put it in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree to give their kingdom unto the beast. All right. As you read that in the NLT, they will agree to give their authority to the scarlet beast. Okay. And to the words of Yahweh Bashim Yashar fulfilled. So again, they've agreed up until this point where now we're seeing all of these differences. And now you see Turkey. Okay. Turkey. Let's get that in Jeremiah, the 51st chapter, I believe. Okay. Turkey is they're going to join with these different countries and be a thorn in the side of Babylon. And eventually, all of these nations with all the power they have and all the military might they have, they're going to destroy this place, man. This is what's all being set up through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai. Okay, Jeremiah 51, and it got to be around 20. Or is it 50? Yep, here we go. Yep, Jeremiah 51. I'll start here. Yep. And 25, behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, America, Babylon, saith the Lord. All right. Scholars, so-called biblical scholars like Dr. Brown, they'll read Jeremiah 51 and tell you this is something that already happened when the ancient Neo-Babylonian Empire never underwent this kind of judgment. You see, this is why the prophets of Yahweh Bashim Yahshua have been set up to give understanding of these scriptures, man. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith the Lord, which destroyest the earth, and will stretch out my hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and I will make thee a burnt mountain. This is what's coming to America. And they shall not take thee such a stone, all right, for a corner, or a stone for foundation, but thou shalt be desolate, okay, forever, saith the Lord. So these nations ain't going to no longer depend on your ass again. See? Power is going to be given to the true Israelites, and all nations will be forced to bow to the names of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Okay? It says, set up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her, call together against her the kingdoms of Ararat, many, all right, Ararat, all right, Armenia, which ultimately that points to the region that Russia has control over. But Ararat, okay, is Turkey. Okay? Let's look it up. Ararat. All right, Ararat. It means the curse reversed. So these nations are being used to reverse the curses that were put on us, man, to destroy the nations the Lord used to take us down, man. Precipitation of curse. Anyway, it says a mountain region of eastern Armenia between the river, yada, yada, yada. Ararat, basically. That's pointing to Turkey. All right, let's look it up here. Let's do it like this. Because basically when you read Ezekiel 38, you know, the chief prince of Meshech, Tubal, ultimately that's speaking of Turkey as well. All right, but when you look it up, all right, Ararat, all right, nevertheless, Ararat is traditionally considered the resting place of Noah's Ark, which is, you know, modern day Turkey, regarded as biblical mountain. Mount Ararat has been associated with Genesis account, and Armenians began to identify, all right, but it's Turkey, all right, it's in that region. So this is, when you read these prophecies, man, It's spot on with what's going on, okay, in the scriptures, man, in the world, okay. And you could look up Noah's Ark discovery. Let's see here. Yep, Mount Ararat. There's a snow cave dormant in eastern Turkey. All right, you know, you could look up more on it, but again, let's see here. There's a map, you know. Armenia is right there, you know, and pretty much all of these, you know, because I know Armenia and Turkey have had friction over the years, but all of these nations are going to join together with Russia. Okay. Woo. So it's getting ready to go down. Anyway, basically, you could just look it up, but what we're reading, okay, in Jeremiah 51, set up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her. Against who? Babylon, against the West, against the interest of the West, against the small hats as well. All right, together against her, the kingdoms of Ararat, okay, Turkey, Mini, all right, Armenia, and Ashkenaz, Germany, to appoint a captain against her. All right, appoint a captain against her. All right, which that's going to be Russia. Cause her horses to come up as the rough caterpillars. Prepare against her the nations with the king of the Medes. The Medes, all right, points to Russia. When you look up the ancient USSR territory, all right, it's in the same region where the Medes ruled, okay? And ultimately, now they rule over in these lands, all right? The ancient Medes were Japhetic, but we know Japhet has no, you know, stand in biblical prophecy. So all of these things are coded for us to bring out. This is speaking of Russia. The king of the Medes is Russia. The captains thereof and all the rulers thereof and all the land of his dominion. So ultimately, all of these nations are going to come together to destroy Babylon the Great. See, headed by Russia, which is called the Medes, all right, prophetically. Even the land of Magog was headed by Japhetic people originally, but we have these Edomites in that land right now, Russia, and they're being used for a very, very great purpose. See here, if you look up where the ancient Medes ruled, all right, that area in this time is controlled by Russia. If you look up an ancient USSR map, you'll see that it's the same landmass, all right, that was once ruled by the Medes. That's why prophecy, when it says Medes, all right, it's talking about Russia. See, Median Empire. All right, now let's look up a USSR map. Pretty much in that same territory. Okay. Okay. When you go to it, all right, it's in that same territory. So when the scriptures talk about the king of the Medes, it's pointing to Russia. All right. Also, I believe in what, Isaiah 13. Let's see here. The Lord's going to stir up the Medes. Boom. All right. And Russia, route, it means to stir up. Isaiah 13 and 17, behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. So they're trying to get around that dollar. They don't give a damn about the power of that dollar. They're formulating their own thing right there. And to trade and to get gold, you have to have what? US dollars. See? Boom, right here. All right, I will stir up the Medes against Babylon. This is symbolizing Russia. And they're not going to regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. All right. And that's one of the aspects in the mindset centered around, all right, the BRICS, okay, to formulate their own currency, All right, but more than that, you know, how to trade around that dollar. It says, their bows also shall dash the young men in pieces, and they shall have no pity upon the fruit of the womb, or their eyes shall not spare the children. So when you look at the mindset behind, you know, Russia's military, they're cold-blooded, man. Okay, but again, Babylon will fall to the Medes. See? And that's ultimately Russia. Okay? Call Halal Yahweh Bashim Yahshai. So what we're witnessing, Russia welcoming Turkey, this is all biblical prophecy, man. Okay? Call Halal Yahweh Bashim Yahshai. So Turkey signals desire to join BRICS. And what is the purpose of BRICS?
Presidente da República da África do Sul.
The group of emerging economies known as BRICS makes up more than 40% of the world's population and a quarter of the global economy. And more countries want to join the club, which aims to challenge a world order seen to be dominated by the US and its Western allies. But what exactly is BRICS? Who wants in? And why? Underscoring the growth potential of Brazil, Russia, India, and China, a chief economist at Goldman Sachs came up with the BRIC acronym in 2001. The group was founded as an informal club in 2009. Its creation initiated by Russia. South Africa joined the following year. It's the smallest member in terms of economic clout and population. BRICS is not a formal multilateral organization like the UN or World Bank. Its leaders usually get together annually, with each nation rotating through a one-year chairmanship of the group. The bloc operates by consensus. Apart from geopolitics, the group's focus includes economic cooperation and increasing multilateral trade and development. And that's attracting others. This year's chair, South Africa, says over 40 countries have expressed interest in joining. Iran has said it hopes the club will pin down the new membership process as soon as possible. Oil heavyweight Saudi Arabia has the backing of Russia and Brazil. And Argentina says it has China's support. One of Africa's fastest growing economies, Ethiopia, says it's asked to join. Bolivia appears interested too. In July, the country turned to the Chinese yuan, saying it wanted to curb dependence on the US dollar for foreign trade. That move aligns with BRICS' stated aim. The same month, Algeria said it applied for membership and to become a shareholder in the so-called BRICS Bank, or New Development Bank. Still, current members are divided over expansion. China wants the group to get bigger as it tussles with the US over trade and geopolitics.
So even they have their divisions, you know?
South Africa and Russia, which hopes to thaw its diplomatic isolation over the Ukraine war, are also keen to see the group grow. But Brazil is more skeptical, and India is undecided.
All right, and we was just looking at BRICS announced, you know, their currency. But there's a precept I'm thinking of, and we can end it off. The nation shall no longer flow. Boom. Jeremiah 51:44, and I will punish Baal in Babylon, and I will bring forth out of his mouth that which he swallowed up, all of these riches, all of the land they stole, and the nation shall not flow together any more unto him. Yea, the wall of Babylon shall fall. All right, and their biggest strength, one of their biggest strengths, is that dollar. But right here, all right, these nations are no longer going to flow together unto Babylon. All right, so hopefully I will edify on to the next. Shalom.